You'll likely recognize my next guest as the voice of a classic. Now the Dropkick Murphys are releasing their 11th studio album, This Machine Still Kills Fascists. That's out tomorrow. The name comes from a phrase singer-songwriter, activist Woody Guthrie once had painted on his guitar, and the album is a collaboration with legendary singer-songwriter, who the band's frontman Ken Casey calls the original punk.
She's upside down, she's broke apart, and getting worse every day. A working man's hand is the hardest card in the whole damn deck to play.
But offstage, Casey has a lot going on as well. A staple in the Boston food and bar scene for well over a decade, including the sadly now closed McGreevy's Pub, going on to partner on Lower Mills Tavern in Dorchester, and Yellowdoor Taqueria, also in Dorchester in the South End, and the soon-open Mission Hill location later this month. Ken Casey joins me now. Ken, it's great to see you.
Good to be here, buddy.
How you been?
See you again. I'm great. Thank you.
So, what's with you and Mexican food?
Who doesn't love tacos?
Okay.
You know, in my travels, I've expanded my palate, and because I would think, especially growing up, Boston wasn't necessarily known as a place to get a great taco. But I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time traveling around, and I thought it would be fun to bring the concept on home.
Well, you know, I'm going to taste some of this in a minute. You pretended a minute ago that you had something to do with cooking this, which is total BS,
I
should
have the
say.
video
Raise
on
your
my
right
phone
hand
to prove it.
and tell me I had something to do with cooking this.
God, we have a little fryer later in the green room. I dropped that fish in myself, and yeah, made it myself.
Should I try the fish?
The fish is my favorite on the menu.
Is it?
So yes.
What kind of fish is it? Do you have any idea?
It's local haddock. Yep.
And you helped cook this. Ken Casey helped cook this, so he says. Caught it this morning. Oh my God. Oh, that is fabulous. Actually, that really is fabulous.
Mango puree, pineapple. You know.
By the way, people watching a television show love hearing people chew while they're listening to it.
I know.
Because how do you know, a lot of people who do what you do for a primary living are in the food business. What drew you to this?
Well, the McGreevy's concept is what accidentally drew me into it, which sadly closed at the pandemic. But you know, when we Dropkicks did the song Tessie, and some of the history behind that song came out when the Red Sox won the World Series, and the original baseball bar was McGreevy's, and a lot of the you know, ardent fans called the Royal Rooters hung around there, and we opened a replica of that. And really, I was more into it from the baseball side. Lucky enough to have grown up with a good friend, Brian O'Donnell, who's a great restaurateur.
Part of the deal, right?
Yep. So it was like I had the idea, he had the knowledge, put them together, and we've had a bunch of other places together. And
so you're going to be surprised when he hears you say a minute ago you cooked this stuff?
he will be shocked.
He will be shocked.
Yes. He'll be actually horrified. Might be a better.
This is ceviche, right?
Ceviche. Yep.
You had nothing to do with that.
Make
okay,
that,
fine.
yes.
Ceviche is one of my favorite foods in the whole world. Okay,
Yeah.
explain what ceviche is for people who haven't had it, please.
So it's you get some tuna in there, and it cooks in its own, cooks itself right in there, and the oils and stuff, and you have watermelon in there. Amazing, goes great on the chips and salsa, and chips and guac are my absolute favorite on the menu.
I had the guacamole last night. I had delivery from your joint.
Yeah.
Is unbelievable.
You know when you go into an Italian place and you just fill up on bread and on the food, that's what I do with the chips and guac. I'm full by the time the tacos come. So.
Pick the avocados, by the way. He told me that last week somewhere.
I absolutely
did. Well, we'll keep eating in a second. So
Yeah.
the CD is coming out tomorrow. As I said, the title, This Machine Still Kills Fascists. Explain this incredible connection between the Guthrie family and you guys.
Sure. So 20 years ago, Nora Guthrie, who's Woody's daughter, she's in charge of the archives of all Woody's hundreds and hundreds of pages of lyrics that he never put to music. Maybe he had in his mind, but he never recorded it, never wrote down the music. And at the time, 20 years ago, Nora's son, Cole, who was a teenager at the time, was a Dropkick Murphys fan. He said to his mom, I think Grandpa would have got a kick out of these guys. They have a lot, you know, in common for things that we sing about and whatnot. And we got invited down to go through the archives 20 years ago. At the time, you know, holding the actual pieces of paper he wrote these songs on.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. What does that feel like to know that his hand touched this thing that you're touching right there?
I kept getting yelled at. It was a special temperature-controlled room. I had to wear these special white gloves. And it literally just sat on my hands. and the woman in charge, not Nora, but the woman in charge of the room would say, so you have to be more gentle. And I said, it's just sitting in my hands. But Woody would always date when the song was written. When you think about it, a lot of these songs were written mid-30s through mid-50s. I mean, how much happened in the world in that period? So to have that date really shed so much light on, what was happening when he wrote it. And, yeah, it's just amazing.
So you guys pulled, just so I understand, the unreleased lyrics and you put music to it. Having no idea, really, obviously, what he would have done with the music.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it goes without, you guys are huge. But then there's Woody Guthrie.
Yeah.
I know it's not the first time you've used some of his lyrics. How intimidating is that to do that?
It would be extremely intimidating if it wasn't for the fact that Nora has been so kind to us and said, like, you have my trust. I know that, how highly you think of my father. I know how much you respect his work, and it's in your hands, and I trust you. And after being told that and believing it, he felt like, okay. And we would always run every idea by her, but she never once would say, I don't like that or change that. She just said, you have my trust, and I think, my father would be proud of it.
How's that feel?
Knows? Yeah, it feels good, man. This album is all acoustic because we wanted to give it some nod to how Woody would have done it. Obviously it's a little different, and we got to go to the town that Woody was born in, Okemah. Yeah, we recorded the album in Tulsa, but we went to Okemah, and we're walking down the street shooting videos, playing the guitars, and people would just pull up. You're here for Guthrie, and they took us in some back room of a place that had all kinds of other Guthrie archive stuff, and just it's just so much history, and yeah, it's awesome.
What did Nora think of the CD?
Yeah, she loves it, and we have a part 2 already done that'll come out next year, and we did a movie on it, so we really got to do it was really nice going beyond just the music and being able to document the whole process. We've never done that during a recording and whatnot.
So I hate to break the mood, but what's this thing?
That's chicken tinga. You have
chicken who?
Chicken tinga. Yeah. We usually fry the avocados as well.
This is going to go all over the place.
But we were definitely afraid that the fire alarm was going to go off back there, so we tried to keep down our fryer later as much as possible.
This is your last opportunity to tell the truth when you say you cooked this. Do you want to say that one more time, or do you want to recant what you said?
Well, full disclosure, I just cooked the fish.
You just cooked the fish.
I didn't have a hand in the chicken.
That's not what you said at the beginning of this thing. I want to be clear on that. Okay, fine.
I did fry the churros.
We're getting to that when we get to dessert time. Before you go, we talk a lot on this show, as a lot of people do in America, about white nationalism, violence from some of the MAGA crowd. The difference is we talk about it and you confront it. And I'm going to talk to you about that for a minute. Here's you and your mates, I think in Pennsylvania earlier this month. Here it is.
If you're out there buying those f***ing hats that these swindlers are selling at that f***ing fair, I'm sorry, kids, I know there's kids here, then you're part of the problem, and I'll tell you why. Because you're being duped by the greatest swindler in the history of the world. You're being duped by a bunch of grifters and billionaires who don't give a shit about you or your family.
I think most people know there's that famous thing with a Nazi on the stage. I think it was 2013 in New York City. Obviously, you tried to enjoin these neo-Nazis here who are using one of your songs. Why is a stupid question. I know why. Why do you do this publicly? Why do you engage? Why do you decide to do this?
First of all, I was stressed when you said you were going to play that. I'm glad you beeped everything out because my mother gave me a little bit of crap about my language.
She's a pretty good one.
Listen, the way I look at things nowadays, it's like to not speak up is to be complicit because we could lose our democracy if we just assume that good's going to win out over evil. And I do think it's evil. I mean, just from the political side, forget the white national side. It's, but when the former president, is a sympathizer, it allows that dark underbelly to come out from under the rock and feel comfortable to show up at the St. Patrick's Day parade, which never would have happened before. So, when the top acknowledges it, stand back and stand by, then they come out in force,
You know, I'm sure you've heard the infamous quote from the best basketball player that ever lived, Michael Jordan. He was asked once why
Second best
he was not. Don't tell me LeBron.
Larry, of course.
Larry, oh,
Boston
excuse me.
guy,
Sorry, I know. So he was asked why he wasn't endorsing a progressive candidate for the United States Senate years ago when that guy was running against an incumbent segregationist senator, and he said Republicans buy sneakers too. That doesn't worry you? I mean, they're fans. They buy CDs. They come to concerts.
I get you, and I don't try to go out and generally meddle in people's business to the point where, you know, I'm going to do a complete investigation before they buy a CD. However, we're in different times right now, you know, and yeah, if it costs us fans, it costs us fans. It's you know, I think we've always had that mindset, you know.
Woody Guthrie would have done the same thing?
Well, absolutely Guthrie would have done it.
Okay, now obviously you cook those desserts too.
I'd
Get
a Bible out.
Guy's never at a loss for words on the stage. It's interesting. What am I eating here?
That is our world famous churros in the
What am I dipping in? Do you have any idea?
Dolce Cabana sauce.
Oh, God.
Dolce something sauce. But yeah, these are my favorite.
Yeah.
Obviously.
It's unbelievable. Well, the food is great. I cannot wait to hear the CD. What I heard is fabulous. And congratulations on doing what you're doing. It's great to see you, Ken Casey.
Thank you so much.
I shake your hand with a little sugar
Yeah,
on
let's
it?
go. Let's
Be
go.
well.
All
Take
right.
care.
Thank you, Jim.
Great Ken Casey.